When I'm not pinning all my hopes that humanity will not be enslaved by artificial intelligence in my lifetime due to the fact that autocorrect has not gotten any better over the last 10 years. I like to answer questions and comments so to get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Hey Sean, I know these things will be across a number of your videos, but could you do one please on these 5th and 6th string chord voicings you use a lot? For 1 through 6 in a key explaining when to use major, minor 7, etc. to get nice tight chord voicings, thanks. Great question. I want to take this video just to kind of go over a lot of stuff that I think made me a much better player and stuff that I didn't really understand until I became like a professional guitar player playing as an accompanist to a singer or even like just singing myself. Stuff that I never would have thought of, right? So the spirit of this question is like, all right, well, when do you go from, you know, learning just like a bunch of open chords to kind of these like little tighter, like major 7, minor 7, chord voicings that I think personally have a lot more utility in a singer-songwriter style, playing with a band, playing with a singer, in like a bunch of different ways. So we're just going to talk about just some real quick tips that you can take where you can always root on the E and A string to play a bunch of chords that maybe you've never even played before, or to kind of give you a refresher on stuff that always works. The reason this guitar is going to be sounding so good today is because I'm using Elixir strings. Elixir has sponsored this video, my favorite absolute guitar strings of all time. I'm holding a package of the Polyweb 12s up, but I actually have the Phosphorbron 12s on this, which I'll link in the description. You should definitely get it because you want your acoustic guitar or electric guitar to sound as good as possible for these awesome tight chord voicings. Okay, so we're going to do something people's key, key of G. All right, so if I have a G major chord right here, if I'm in the key of G, or if I'm in, you know, other keys like the key of D or something, even the key of C, what I'll do a lot is I'll play this chord voicing. All right, so I'm rooting the chord on the same spot as I would an open position chord. My pointer finger's got the 3rd fret, the G, on the E string. I'm skipping the A string, and my ring finger and pinky are getting the 4th fret on the D and the G string. Okay, so that's the entire chord right there. There's 3 notes, but that makes a G major 7 chord. If you've watched a lot of these videos, you'd be like, well, how come I'm playing a G major 7 if I only have 3 notes? You may know that a major 7 chord, any 7th chord has 4 different notes. It should be G, B, D, F sharp. But if I play like this, I'm playing a G, I'm playing an F sharp with my ring finger, and I'm playing a B with my pinky here. All right? Now, why do I want to do this? There's a couple different reasons. All right? For one, in the spirit of the question, it's a lot tighter. Okay? As compared to like, or okay, so the open strings are helping to play that chord by doubling up notes that maybe we already have in the chord. All right, when I play it like this, and I'm playing a fingerstyle, you could use it with a pick too, but I'm only playing the fretted notes. None of the open strings are helping me out, even though they could. If I wanted to get that open B string in there, sure, whatever. But the nice thing about this is I can move this. Now it becomes a movable shape, and I can make any of the 12 single notes a major 7 chord. G major 7, G sharp major 7, A major 7, B flat major 7, B major 7, C major 7, so on and so forth, right? So, another reason is it actually works as a little bit of a volume control. If you don't want a big old boomy G chord, which there's a time and a place for, you can kind of temper it down a little bit. And also, I think major 7 is generally prettier than just like a major triad. Major triad, major 7. It's cool to go back and forth between them. But, so there's just something classy, something fancy that you can do. Another great reason is now I have complete volume control with my fretting hand. I can just let the pressure go without coming off the entire chord. When you have a G major chord, those open strings are still going to ring out, right? So now I have complete control over the sound of the instrument just with my fretting hand, or a combination of maybe muting with my right hand and my left hand, right? So you have a lot more control. Plus it just kind of gives you a lot more options, right? So we're going to go through all those chords 1 through 6 in the spirit of this question, like this, all right? Where is it major, where is it minor? Well, the 1, 4, and 5 chords, notes in a key, are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor. So for example, we're going to do this for the major chord shapes and this for the minor chord shapes, okay? So I'm going to go from G major to A minor 7. And this is where we're going to talk about how one of the notes in these chords are implied, okay? So we've got a G major 7, which is a G, a B, and an F sharp. I don't have the 5th in there, a D chord, a D note, like I should for a full major chord. And for this A minor 7, I have an A note, I have a G note, and I have a C note. Okay? So in both the major chord, the major 7 chord version, and the minor 7 chord version, I'm playing a 4-note chord, but I'm only playing 3 of the notes. Therefore, I'm implying one of the notes. And there's a reason that I wanted to use a major chord and a minor chord as an example before we talk about the note that we're omitting. We're omitting the 5, the 5th of this chord, okay? Now, you've probably played a root note and its 5th if you've ever played a power chord. Here's a G power chord, A power chord. All right, a power chord isn't major and it isn't minor. It's just a root note kind of thickened. G power chord. So it kind of isn't an official chord, but it just takes a note, and it doesn't have a class. It doesn't have a major vibe, doesn't have a minor vibe. It just is what it is. That's why they're very prevalent in rock music, because it's about an attitude ringing out on these beautiful elixir strings on this Martin D35, right? But to give it a little more character, we would add the major 3rd, making it a G major chord or an A minor chord. You see how there's a little more depth musically to these chord voicings? But again, we're leaving out the 5th. We're omitting it. Therefore, you could see this is what a shell voicing is called. A shell voicing is basically you're not playing all of the notes in a chord. You're just playing enough to imply what you're going for, right? Strictly speaking, by the book, this chord right here isn't technically a G major 7 chord because we don't have a D in it. It should be a G, a B, and a D, and an F sharp. But again, this is more about seeing the shape and having it be like a useful way to accompany somebody, yourself, a singer, whatever, in a band. The cool thing is, maybe you don't want to play the D note here. Maybe a bass player or a piano player is going to hit that note, and then you're going to kind of like have a little bit more synergy to the whole band will play the chord together instead of just the guitar player playing as many notes as he or she can, right? The beautiful thing about minor 7 chord voicings is any minor chord can become a minor 7 chord, right? So we've got G major, A minor, B minor, C major, okay? Now the reason I'm using the 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret is I'm going through the notes in the G major scale. We can count through those in an intervallic formula. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. If that doesn't make any sense, I got a bunch of videos like that, or you can start from scratch at my Patreon, which I'll link below too. But to get the major scale, whole, half, whole, half, just start somewhere. Doesn't matter where you start. Again, the people's key of G is where we're starting. Whole step from here is 5th fret minor. Whole step, 7th fret minor. Half step, 8th fret C major. Another whole step. This is a new one. Okay, this is the only time we're ever going to change this shape on the E, D, and G strings. This is going to look like this. Dominant 7, D7. The interesting thing about that is if we think about what we just learned, right, where we have, there's G major and there's A minor. If we put both shapes on the same root note, there's G major, here's G minor, right? Maybe if I use my middle finger, I can do this. I'm pivoting off the same root note to go from major 7 to minor 7. When we get to that D, that 10th fret, it's a split of both of them, right? I have a root note, and I have it's minor 7th, but it's major 3rd. So that's why it sounds kind of bluesy. That 5 chord in any key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is where the dominant 7 chord lives. A good way to think about that, and a way to visualize it with this shape, is it's half major and half minor. That's a great way to describe it. It's like, is this a happy chord? Is it a sad chord? I don't know. It's just kind of dirty. Bluesy, it's dirty. And then the 6th note is minor 7 again, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. All right. Another beautiful use of this shape right here is the 7th note. This question didn't even ask about the 7th note in a chord key. It just said 1, 3, 6. Well, let's talk about 7 real quick, especially just using these 3 note voicings. The 7th note in G is F sharp. usually that chord would be an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. But again, remember, we're omitting the 5, so it doesn't matter if it's flat or not. What happens to an F sharp minor 7 flat 5? When you remove the flat 5, you get F sharp minor 7. Just like that. So that's why, in a lot of ways, compositionally, I think of the 7th note in any key as another place to potentially put a minor 7 chord. Because again, if you're just omitting the 5 there, it's fair game, right? That sounded fine. That didn't sound out of key at all, even though I was representing that F sharp. But it's a great way to kind of go about just running through these chord voicings, right? Really quickly, let's do the same thing on the A string, right? Where we have, I'm going to take my root note, I'm going to skip a string to get to its 7th, and then its major 3rd, okay? So now, instead of going like I did this for the G, we have to compensate for that B string. So we just drag where your finger was on the B string 1 higher. So here's your major chord. Now remember, for the 2 chord, you were in line, so we're going to go 1 higher there. This is kind of like a minor 7 chord voicing, right? So major 7, minor 7, minor 7. Then we can keep going on and on with the major 7 again, right? And again, if you do these fuller chord voicings, these will look more familiar to you, so on and so forth, right? So I think that playing these tighter chord voicings has a lot of utility. You don't always have to use them, but it's definitely something that you're going to want to know, so something you should think about. Stay tuned for tonight's Hallmark special presentation, A Man and Woman and an Accordion. So if you missed it the other day, I had my accordion unboxing. And I don't know, tell me if you felt this way, because I had a real moment yesterday. So the accordion has these straps on it, right? Why do I have an accordion? That's anybody's guess. Nobody really asked me to do an accordion video, but I just requested one. And I was like strapping this thing on, and I was trying to look in a mirror because I can't see all the parts over the squeeze box, as they call it. And I had this moment where I'm getting strapped with this, and I'm looking at it, I'm trying to figure it out, and then I looked up from the mirror, and I made direct eye contact with myself, saw myself strapped with a giant red accordion, and just totally lost my crap and started laughing. And now I've just been kind of practicing accordion. So what I do regret is that there's no quick fix like putting elixir strings on an accordion just to make it sound instantly better and easier to play. But I'm trying my best. Another, I love when I accidentally play an accordion sound just by holding it. But yeah, another idea that I had was starting thirst trap accordion TikTok videos. So stay tuned for all those. Explanations are as clear as mud, spoken at speed simply to boast the ability of the teacher. I always find it funny with the trolls that, like, if I'm not, I usually talk too fast, right? Because guess what? You can rewind it or you can slow it down. But it's like if I'm talking too fast, it's like, oh, you're just doing this for yourself to boast your ability. Because yeah, I get off on that. Seeing myself explain musical concepts quickly, that's what I live for, boasting my own ability. Or sometimes it'd be like, get on with it. You're talking too much. You're talking too slow. Get on with it. So I've learned that with certain trolls, there's a precise speed for each individual that you have to hit just right. And if you hit it just right, can't be too fast, can't be too slow, gotta nail it just right. And then they'll be happy for their free YouTube video that they've consumed. That was a great spot. Quality reflection on a pinch of history. So this is on the video I just posted yesterday with Banana Blondie, where we relived the iconic James Brown interview where he's like high as a kite, talking to a news reporter about his domestic abuse case. And I was kind of shocked by the amount of comments that were like, whoa, Sean, take it easy. That's the godfather of soul. And there were like a couple of hot takes that it's like, oh, it's not cool to make fun of James Brown and his domestic abuse history because he's a great musician. And I mean, you know, I'm not taking anything away from the performance. Like, in fact, after I watched the video with BB, I went back and watched some of like the live James Brown stuff, and the dude's like just an incredible amazing performer. I had no idea. I was actually kind of ignorant to like how good he was live. But at the same time, it's kind of a hot take to like defend James Brown. Like, he can be a great artist and also a criminal at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, the James Brown defenders had me a little, I was a little interested at that take, but you know, whatever. All right, listening homework. One of my favorite, it's getting summertime, one of my favorite summertime songs. I listened to the 1975 more in the summertime. One of my favorite summertime bands. I don't know why I don't like them in the winter. Summertime only. But I love Sincerity is Scary. Just because that broken drum beat is just so tasty. Like, the drummer for this band is so next level in a way that like you probably wouldn't always get just by thinking of just the drums for the band. But that just broken beat is just, it's so good. And I know it turns a lot of people off. So that's how you know if you're a musical genius or not, if you like the broken beat and Sincerity is Scary. So if you check that out, thank you again to Elixir Strings for sponsoring this video. Again, no lie, the only strings that I use, they're amazing. So thank you again for them to always sponsor a video every now and then. If you have any questions or comments, hit me in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and let me know what kind of accordion content you guys want to see, because there's nothing that you can do to stop me from making more accordion content. Thanks a lot.